Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another episode of Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. Alright, so we're back with Capcom Arcade Cabinet. So help me, I will get through this series if it kills me and everyone else, damn it. And yeah, we're taking a look at the next game in this pack, and we're going to do something different today. Hey, take a drink. How many times have I said that? We're going to be taking a look at two different versions of this game, Section Z, or to pronounce it the correct Canadian and British way, Section Z. It's a Z, damn it. Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at this version, and we are actually going to be comparing it to the NES version. And why is that? Because, well, while both games share a similar DNA, they're a fair bit different in terms of how you progress through them, and I thought it would be interesting to showcase the difference, because I actually like both versions in their own ways. So it's kind of interesting here. So this is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, and it's kind of basic on the surface, but there's some interesting little twists to it that you don't see in a lot of games of this type. So it is very much a, you know, one-direction progression kind of thing. Get to the end of the level and score as much as you can on the way. But there is a little bit of a difference that you will see mixed up here as we go, which is this. Assuming I don't screw it up. It's this. What? 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 Oh, geez. Yeah, you can turn your dude around on demand and shoot multiple different directions. And that is key later because, as you can see, you will get attacked from all sides in this game. And it's pretty cool. I actually really like the play systems in this. This game is very, very challenging. It starts you off not bad, and I'm kind of cheating here a little bit because every game in Capcom Arcade Cabinet has an auto-fire button, which I'm using here to sort of game the system. By default, if you're playing this game properly, it's definitely not this easy. But your principal goal is to get through the levels, scoring as many points as you can along the way, and if you are fortunate enough to take out certain key individual enemies or groups of enemies, you can get additional power-ups and score opportunities, as you saw by that spinner there, and also that specialized sort of Metroid-y looking enemy there that I killed. So you have a... There we go. So you have a number of different ways in which you can improve your character and improve your way through the level. This is a game, it can get frantic very quick, so it looked there like it wasn't really moving all that quick, right? But as you can see, if left unchecked, and this is the case with a lot of Capcom shmups from this era, if left unchecked, and if you don't keep the crowds thinned out, the enemies will quickly become quite overwhelming because the game doesn't wait, it just keeps throwing stuff at you. And if you can't clear out what's on the screen before more stuff comes in, then you get to deal with twice as much stuff, and that's pretty much how it works. So it can get very frantic and very difficult very quick, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty solid, and it looks and sounds very good for a game of this era, I think. I think it's very nicely put together. And as you can see in the upper left there, you've got this little sort of progress bar thing, and that is basic... Dang it. That is basically your progression through the level. So you have to get to all the various different sectors, obviously ending up in Section Z, which is the last level, which allows you to basically complete the game. And this is where this game and the NES game diverge significantly. And that is because this game is linear, so you go through Sector E, Sector J, Sector O, Sector T, all the way to Section Z, whereas in the NES version, you can actually... You're presented with branching paths on a frequent basis, and the game is almost like a maze in a weird way, because you basically have to get through the... You have to take stuff in a certain way, and you can get shortcuts, you can get through the game faster, and you can also take... Man, I'm bombing this. Or you can take other paths that will take you through other levels that you can use to either farm points, or if you screw it up, it will actually just make you replay old levels. It's quite interesting. So in addition to just doing the general shooting mechanics, you're also presented with this sort of weird progression tactic that you have to implement. And while I like both games quite a bit, I think the NES version is definitely a little more creative and different and very unique for the time. There was really... Section Z is a game that is... There we go. Here is the Section E. Your bonus points is this. Let's try Section J. I don't... Weren't we in Section E before? Okay, well, whatever. It's Japanese titles in the 80s. What can I say, folks? So it's, yeah, I think the NES version is a little bit more creative. It's a game that some people like myself remember fondly, and a lot of people just kind of remember as another sort of, this is something Capcom put out in the era of Mega Man that wasn't Mega Man, so it doesn't really matter much. And I think that does this game a little bit of a disservice. I think Section Z is actually quite impressive on the NES. So... You've got the basics of this one here. I think this is a pretty fun one to try out, and it is in Capcom Arcade Cabinet, so it's definitely easy enough to do. But I thought it would be kind of fun to showcase both versions again. So we're going to do another split episode here. And I'm going to take you over to the NES version, which is, as I said, different in some very, very clever and creative ways. So... Now that you've seen the basics of the arcade one, let's slide on over to the NES version and take a look at that one. And we are back with the NES version as promised. Alright, so let's check this out here. So you're going to see there's a few notable differences between this and the arcade version that I think make it stand out and make it not only really good up against the arcade version, but just a really cool game in general that has kind of been forgotten by a lot of people. So... First thing you're going to notice is that, well, in the arcade game, you had your fire button and you had a separate independent button that switched your direction so that you could fire backwards. They've simplified that in this game, which is that you just, because the NES is a two-button controller, you have two buttons, fire left and fire right. So you can switch instantly, and as you can see, there's no animation. It's literally a single frame turnaround, so it's much easier to sort of shift your direction very, very fast. So, you're going to see here we're progressing as normal, but here's one of the other shifts. What is this, you say? So these are the different level teleporters, and these will take you to different sections of, or different levels within the section that you're in. And you can do these in different orders, and there are different layouts and enemy patterns and basically challenges in each of these different areas. And you can choose to do them in different orders if you want. Not all areas have to be visited in order to finish the game, and you don't have to... shoot. And you can actually... kind of screw up the order and actually send yourself backwards if you want, which is kind of a little bit unique and different. There are not a lot of games, even in this era, that had a progression method like that where you could actually just end up going backwards if you wanted to, or purposely backtracking, which is kind of interesting. You can do that to farm score if you want, but I mean, score, particularly in the NES version, isn't that meaningful. I'm pretty sure the NES version doesn't even have a high score counter, so in the end, it doesn't really matter that much. But, in addition to that, there's this unique mechanic. So, you see that E-meter I got up top there? So that's your energy. And this is where things in this game get really, really interesting. So, you will take... a hit to that energy meter every time you get hit, right? Every time you take damage from enemy fire, you will lose a bit of that energy. And this is the really interesting part, is that energy, having energy in reserve, is what allows you to essentially checkpoint from the beginning of the level section that you're in. So even if you die, even if you have to use a continue, as long as you had energy in the tank when you died, you will be able to continue from the section that you were in. If you lose too much of your energy, so that when you die you have nothing left, or below a certain amount left, the game will actually whip you all the way back to the very beginning of the section that you're in, as you saw there. So you have to do all the sub-levels over again. And that is regardless of whether or not... Ooh, there's some NES slowdown right there. This game does have a fair bit of that. And that is regardless of whether you used any continues or not. So you can see there that I dropped down to 14 energy when I died there. I lost 5. So if I don't have 5 in reserve when I die, I'm kind of screwed. You also saw at one point that I picked up a weapon power-up that put a little M up there in the right corner. And as you can see, by using that, which you can pick that item by just pressing the select button, and then if you fire with it, it will switch back to your base weapon with that upgrade installed. So you can see here I have this sort of triangular shot now that is quite a bit more powerful and has a much bigger arc on it as well, which is really, really handy. So as you can see, they changed a fair bit from the arcade edition, actually. And but don't think that because of the easier directional shift and easier weapon power-ups that this game is any easier. I would dare say that this game is as hard, potentially even harder than the arcade version, to be honest with you, because that energy mechanic and the fact that you can actually screw up your progression through this little transporter maze and actually put yourself back, as you can see I just did it right here. I'm back in section 1 now. That's pretty brutal. Like, it's almost a little Dark Soulsian in a much more stripped-down fashion, I think. And I think that's really cool. It's very unique. Definitely not something that you saw very often at all in video games or on the NES or anything like that. But funny enough, though, despite the fact that Section Z was, I think it was reasonably popular, it kind of got forgot in the annals of history. It never got a sequel that I'm aware of. It's not something a lot of people look back on with fond memories and go, oh yeah, remember that game? That was really awesome and different and cool, and they did all this really cool stuff. No one really does that, and I think that's kind of too bad, because this had a lot of really, really neat ideas. So if you're looking to play this, I mean, the arcade edition is obviously available in Capcom Arcade Cabinet, and I like that as well for its own reasons, but the NES version is definitely the one that has the bigger number of unique elements in it, and definitely stands out from the crowd a little bit more as far as horizontal shmups go, though the arcade version certainly stands out quite a bit as well. That was unique in its own right, but this one sticks out a little bit more, and I think they're both really, really cool. So I would encourage you, if you like shmups and if you're not averse to horizontal shmups, that you definitely give them a look. So yeah, that is Section Z. Yes, it's Z, damn it. Published and developed by Capcom in 1987 for arcades and the NES. We were looking at the arcade version through Capcom Arcade Cabinet. I like both versions of this. They're both a little unique and different, and they're very good way to expose yourself to something a little different in terms of shmups. My name's been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.